From downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma's own News on 6 starts now.
A Tulsa family is down a vehicle to start 2025 after someone smashed into their parked car on New Year's Eve and then took off.
And a winter storm inches closer to Green Country, what we're expected to see in parts of Green Country this weekend.
We will get the latest from Travis coming up in just a moment, but we begin tonight with why a Beggs man is so frustrated with two ODOT proposals to improve Highway 75 that would run through his property. Thanks for joining us. I'm Craig Day.
And I'm Lori Fulbright. ODOT says it is trying to fix a sharp curve under the railroad north of town, but he says there are other ways to get rid of that problem without tearing down properties. News on 6's Caitlin Deggs is live with both sides tonight. Caitlin.
Craig and Lori, Willie Smith says he spent years building his property and found out about the ODOT proposals from his neighbor. He wishes that ODOT would work with neighbors before making a decision. Willie Smith has spent 5 years putting together his dream property north of Beggs, complete with an indoor arena, several horses, chickens, and ducks, in a remodeled house.
It's not going to be easy to move these things around. So if they said, hey, you got to move, it's not as easy as transferring your lease on an apartment. I'm going to have to gather up my whole family like the old Oregon Trail and pack up and head somewhere else.
Willie's property is just southwest of the curve. ODOT says it's trying to improve because of safety and drainage issues. His property would be affected in 2 of the 3 proposals.
I would love if ODOT would communicate with us as homeowners and say, hey, if we were going to go with plan A, this is what you'd be looking at with your land value or your house value. So then we're not going to be left just wondering what's going to happen.
ODOT says that no final decisions have been made and says once the comment period closes, we will review all comments received and work with the city of Beggs to determine which proposed alignment to move forward with. Willie hopes ODOT will look at other solutions.
ODOT can come through and trim all those trees and really improve the visibility for the community. In the meantime, if we really want to make this safer, let's start taking actions today to make that happen.
He says he's worried about how all of this will affect his property values and doesn't want to start from scratch somewhere else.
I have a saying, don't let the people who owe you money determine how much they owe you. And that's what situation we're in today, is ODOT is trying to tell me how much my land is worth.
And Craig, ODOT is taking public comments on this project until the end of the business day on January 6th.
All right, Caitlin, we appreciate it. We have more information on this project and how to submit comments inside this story at newson6.com.
Are you ready? It's almost here. We have Sunday when it's rolling in. If you're heading to Kansas tomorrow, you have to be ready tomorrow because things are looking pretty nasty, starting to develop tomorrow. So again, further north you go, the worse it gets. And we're looking at winter storm warnings now. Kansas City, really any place along Interstate 70 is not a good travel route if you have plans. We'll talk more about that later. We do have travel advisories in southeastern Kansas in part of our viewing area. And we do expect some slick streets, possibly, or roadways, elevated surfaces tomorrow morning. If a little bit of precipitation falls, we have temperatures below freezing tomorrow morning. And then that'll start to encompass our area on Sunday afternoon as we have a little bit of precipitation, just enough to cause problems. Tonight, not happening at this time. We're in the 30s, and we're looking at increasing clouds quickly. Metro area, 36, 37 degree area with 38 over at Pogue Airport in Sand Springs. As far as what's coming up, well, winter arrives in 36 hours. Hopefully you're ready. There's going to be big snow piles up to the north. We're going to talk about how much snow is expected. Also, a cold blast, that's going to stick around for a while. More on your forecast shortly.
Thanks, Travis. The city of Tulsa says it is ready if any of that ice or snow makes it this far south this weekend. The public works manager says the city has 40,000 gallons of salt brine already mixed and filling up its trucks. Crews will not put it down until if any rain we have ends because it would just wash off the roads. While our meteorologists think the worst of the weather, as you just heard, will stay north of Tulsa, the city says it's ready if that changes.
We have crews on standby, so if it looks like it's going to shift, we'll bring additional people in to apply salt if we need it.
The city says it helps them if you turn off your water sprinklers or set them to manual so they don't spray the street. They also remind drivers to keep their distance from any of these city trucks that are out treating streets.
Tulsa County prosecutors charge a woman with child neglect after her 4-month-old died after having a broken jaw, broken ribs, a broken femur, and a severe brain injury. The baby's father, Daquan White, is already charged with murder and child abuse after investigators say the baby died a few days after being taken to the hospital last January. Prosecutors have now charged Savannah Bowen because they say she knew her baby was hurt but waited several days to get a medical help. They say she searched the internet for things like baby's femur is sticking out and newborn not being able to move his mouth days before she took the baby to the hospital. And police say doctors told them the baby likely would have survived if he was brought in earlier.
A Tulsa County judge sentences a woman to life in prison for her involvement in the abuse, torture, and murder of her 10-year-old son. The little boy's remains have never been found. Camille Lewis pleaded guilty to helping her boyfriend, John Miles, kill her son, Orlando Hugger Jr., then bury the boy's body, then dig him back up, burn him in a trash can, and put him in the sewer system. Miles was sentenced yesterday to life in prison without parole. Lewis did testify at Miles' trial, but she was not given a plea deal until after that trial was over. Because of the newly passed survivor's law, she'll go to prison for 35 years and then spend the rest of her sentence on probation.
The Osage Nation is asking a federal judge to reverse a 2010 ruling that said the tribe's reservation had been de-established. The tribe says it never accepted that ruling, and the U.S. Supreme Court's 2020 McGirt ruling on tribal jurisdiction said the tribal reservations had never been disestablished. So the Osage Nation argues its reservation is still intact.
Electric vehicle company Canoo has listed several of its manufacturing machines for sale in an online auction. Canoo announced in September it was moving more than 100 engineering jobs from California to Oklahoma and Texas. The auction listing that machinery for sale is in California. Last month, the company announced dozens of furloughs at its Oklahoma factories because it's trying to get some capital.
Oklahoma House Republicans are firming up their plans for what they want to accomplish this legislative session.
State Republican House leaders met this week to talk about their top priorities. News on 6's Jonathan Cooper tells us about those plans. Jonathan?
Craig and Lori, the House Republican caucus says with an incoming Republican president and majorities in both the state and U.S. Congress, lawmakers have an opportunity to get some big things done. Caucus leaders say education, mental health services, workforce development, and growing the economy are all top priorities. That includes things like making schools phone-free and getting a level 1 trauma facility in Tulsa. Also new this year is added oversight to the bill vetting process. Bills will go through both a standard committee and a new oversight committee before going to the House floor. House Republican Caucus Chair Stan May says the goal is to get more eyes on potential state laws.
We want to get more work done earlier, make sure we don't bring any bad legislation forward. I mean, it should be hard to pass the bill. It shouldn't be, a one and done thing.
May says Republicans also are hoping to pass more tax cuts, but are still building consensus and waiting to see what the budget looks like this year. House leaders will meet with the governor and Senate leaders about their goals once the new session starts. Lori?
All right, Jonathan, thank you. State lawmakers meet on Tuesday next week for an organizational day. The legislative session will begin on February 3rd.
Former Tulsa Public Schools baseball coach Tom McKenna has died at the age of 95. McKenna pitched for the University of Tulsa and then went on to lead Memorial High School to 3 state championships, including back-to-back wins in 1980 and 81. McKenna was inducted into the TPS Hall of Fame in 2021.
The Sapulpa Christmas shoot will not return at the end of this year because the downtown area is going through a big renovation this year in 2025. The city is making improvements that will make setting up that shoot much easier for the volunteers. Organizers say that shoot will be back and open in 2026 for the 100th anniversary of Route 66.
A program that teaches women in Oklahoma prisons how to cut hair is expanding to now include men in prison. The prisoners are taken from their facility to a cosmetology school every day to learn about cosmetology and barbering. The graduates can then use those skills to get a job when they get out of prison. 150 women have already graduated from the program since it started 8 years ago. And the Department of Correction says none of the graduates has ended up back in prison. Well, it's going to get much colder this weekend across green country. Get ready. Travis tells us how cold it's going to be and who could get snow or maybe ice across the Osage Casino Skycam network.
And the Oklahoma City Thunder try to tie a franchise record with a win over the New York Knicks tonight.
First, an overnight hit and run on New Year's Eve leaves a Tulsa man very frustrated and upset.
As we approach 30 years since the Oklahoma City bombing, we want to take a moment to honor those we lost, those who survived, and those who were changed forever. On day 63 of our 168-day journey of remembrance, we remember Laura Jane Garrison.
We honor those who survived. Sarah Elizabeth Hernandez, Jacqueline Joy Harrington, Pamela Hicks, and Dot Hill. And we thank those changed forever, including the Medill Police Department and the Major County Sheriff's Office.
Winter.
A Tulsa man and his family are starting off the new year with a big problem. They woke up on New Year's Day at a family member's home only to find someone had hit their parked car and that person took off.
And now they say they can't afford to replace that car. And of course they need it. News on 6's Aaron Conrad has the story.
Lori and Craig, the man I spoke to said he's frustrated because now he's paying big time for somebody else's mistake.
He definitely pushed it at least 2 car lengths.
2025 is not starting out on a positive note for Hunter Knopf.
I opened my Facebook and seen a post of a hit and run, and I looked closer at it and realized it was our car. And I hurry up, rushed over here, and sure enough, our car is sitting in the driveway, half on the sidewalk.
Sometime after midnight on New Year's Eve, his girlfriend's car was hit, parked outside her family home at 23rd and Yale.
We're still trying to recover from Christmas. Now we have like thousands of dollars worth of damage on our paid off vehicle that we're gonna have to try to figure out on ourselves because someone else didn't want to be responsible.
Knopf says the car is likely totaled because the frame is bent. He only had liability insurance on the vehicle and no uninsured motorist.
I'm not mad. I forgive. I am upset. I wish the person would come forward and, say they did it, and we can go from there, but I don't see that happening.
Knopf says this part of a bumper is the best clue he has. It was left at the scene. Knopf says the part number links it to a 2010 white Ford Expedition. That part is now in the hands of Tulsa police, who are investigating. Now he hopes whoever did this is caught.
Yes, 100%. I want him responsible.
Lori, Knopf hopes that someone saw a 2010 white Ford Expedition in the area of 23rd and Yale after midnight and will report what they saw to police.
All right, Aaron, thank you. And police say it's always best if you can park your car in a well-lit area and go ahead and report an incident like this right away.
From the Bob Mills Weather Center, the Oklahoma weather expert, Travis Meyer.
All right, 36 hours until it gets really cold. Now, it's not the end of the world, but we just haven't had anything that's been super cold for quite a while. So, it's basically a year. It was last January when we were super cold. And we're not going to get down to 10 or 20 below zero, but it is going to feel like it with the wind chill a little bit. So we'll have to be advised. Today, our temperatures managed to get up to 47 after morning clouds. Where we kept the clouds most of the day, temperatures were only in the upper 30s, and down to the south, we were in the 50s to low 60s. So it turned out to be a pretty nice day if further south you went from Tulsa. As far as what's going on tonight, we're pretty uniform. Winds are stronger out of the west or out of the south, out in western Oklahoma. And notice temperatures are hanging around 50 down along the Red River. Well, we're at 36 and then 29 up at Miami and 30 in Coffeyville. So the southern plains is relatively quiet tonight. The cold Arctic air just starting to get into northeastern Nebraska and into Iowa. And that is sinking southward. And then out to the west is the main part of the storm system. So that's where, and you can just see where the track of the storm is going to head. These are winter storm warnings. This is ice storm warning in central and south central portions of Missouri. And winter storm watches go all the way through Kentucky and Tennessee and southern Ohio. And so there is a lot going on there. And so the main part of the storm system is now sinking southward. The upper level part of the storm is in Nevada. So that's headed east. And so as we go through the weekend, we're going to look for that to increase the chances of snow across the Colorado Rockies. So we're going to see an enhancement of showers in advance of that. And so we should have some sprinkles or showers maybe as early as tomorrow mid-morning. And the further north you are, the temperatures are going to be closer to freezing. So we do have to watch that in southeastern Kansas. But snow will be breaking out. So by late afternoon on Saturday, snow in Kansas and Nebraska and winter mix across portions of Kansas. And then as that system continues to move across as we go into Sunday, we have rain in the early morning hours of near 50. And then about noontime or before, temperatures will start to drop like a rock because that wind is going to start being pulled out of the north, and that Arctic air is going to get sucked in from out of the northern plains on the backside of this huge system. And then we'll get snow wrapped around almost to Tulsa. Tulsa is going to get a dusting the way it looks at this point. And the further north you go, the better chance of snow. So here's the way it looks. Tomorrow morning, upper 20s, low 30s, slight chance of a passing sprinkle if one would happen in southeastern Kansas tomorrow morning. Through the midday hours, could be some light freezing drizzle. The rest of us would have a chance of a few sprinkles around, temperatures of the 40s, southeast winds kicking in high gear. And then as we go through the daytime hours and into the night, you'll see that circulation feature right in here. So we'll enhance the chance of rain and some thunder from McAllister to the east, and we'll have strong south winds. Look at our temperatures. So by 6 in the morning, we could be nearing 50 in Tulsa. And then right behind that, we're in the 30s, and then freezing precipitation starts to move across. And like if you go in church and then you come out and you go, what just hit me? Well, that would be strong gusty north winds on the backside of this system in Tulsa. They'll be happening earlier in the morning on Sunday if you're west, a little bit later as we go through Sunday midday to the afternoon if you're east. So that'll be the circulation feature, and that'll bring around some snow. Now, the heavy snows are going to stay up in Kansas, and there could be an inch or two right along the state line, dusting to Stillwater, and that would be the case here because that rapidly gets kicked out. Temperatures will be in the 20s in the afternoon after being 50 around 9 o'clock in the morning, and then the wind chills in the afternoon will be around 15. And so that just is a huge difference. So just be advised, that's the way Sunday's shaping up. And don't travel into Kansas on Sunday because that'll be a mess. It'll be cold. That actual temperature will be 15 in Tulsa on Monday morning. And then in the afternoon, we're looking for temperatures struggling in the 20s. The winds will be out of the north-northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. So the wind is the big thing on Monday. There'll be some slick spots probably across southeast Kansas, far northern Oklahoma possible. These are the wind chills in the morning on Monday. Some schools start, and teachers will be back on Monday. And then the afternoon, wind chills are in the teens. So that gives you a pretty good idea. That's pretty doggone cold. Highest probability of getting a snow shower or two would be happening on Sunday morning as that system comes on through, and a passing flurry north and east to Tulsa in the afternoon. Our forecast looks like this. We've adjusted a little bit, but we're seeing temperatures will be near freezing or below freezing for an extended period of time, 60 hours potentially. So that means, again, please be aware if you're using heating elements, heating spacers, or space heaters, excuse me, that can be, 3 feet apart as far as making sure you don't run into any fires, no candles. That is not a safe thing. So do things to make sure you're safe, and we'll get through this no problem.
Yep, it's going to be a few days, and then we'll be back above freezing.
Then we're back, yeah.
All right, good.
Thanks, Travis. Time for a look at sports.
The Thunder are not freezing. They're the opposite.
They
They're
are
forging hot. You got it. There you go. And they could do a big thing tonight, tie the franchise record with 14 wins in a row. Highlights next. Plus, we'll get you set for OU's SEC opener. Also, a top 12 showdown. Keep it here.
Driven by your Oklahoma Ford dealers, this is the Friday Sports Blitz.
For only the 4th time in NBA history, a pair of teams riding win streaks of 9 or more games squared off. That means we had quite the contest in Oklahoma City with the Thunder hosting the Knicks. A win means OKC ties the franchise record with a 14th straight victory. New York, meanwhile, was gunning for win number 10 in a row. It's the top team in the Western Conference against the 3 seed in the East. This is the second night of a back-to-back, of course, for the Thunder. First quarter, we start with who else but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Spin move. Breaking ankles, lays it up and in. 29-25, SGA had 33. 16-point comeback last night, down 14 at one point here. Jalen Williams, no, but second attempt down the paint. Look out, rocking the rim. J-Dub with 20. 88-84, Thunder down 4. Then Aaron Wiggins takes over. Transition 3 from SGA. Wide open look. Bang, bang, bang. 97-97. Then up 4. Another 3. Same spot, same result. Give it to him. 15 points for Wiggins in the frame. Thunder win it 117-107. That ties the franchise record with 14 wins in a row. In college hoops tomorrow, Oklahoma opens up SEC play in style with a top 12 showdown at Alabama. Putting their perfect 13-0 record on the line, the Sooners have won the last 2 meetings with the Crimson Tide. OU, though, 0-2 all-time in Tuscaloosa. And better than that, well, perhaps not for Sooner fans, but Bama perfect at home this season. For more, here's the voice of the Sooners.
Sooners landed in Tuscaloosa on Friday night. It was straight to the arena to get some shots up. Last time they were here, 2018, highly anticipated freshman phenom showdown that day between Trae Young and Colin Sexton. Here 6 years later, same storyline coming up on Saturday night. Jeremiah Fears for Oklahoma, LeBaron Philon for Alabama, two of the top freshmen in America. Should be a great showdown in the SEC opener. Tip-off here, 5 o'clock on Saturday night in Coleman Coliseum. In Tuscaloosa, I'm Toby Rowland. Back to you.
Over in the Big 12, OSU will look to get to 1-1 in league play with a win tomorrow afternoon at West Virginia. There are familiar faces in this one, including former Cowboy Javon Small, now leading the Mountaineers and the Big 12 in scoring. And it all doesn't stop there. Here's Sports Director John Holcomb.
The weather just a little different here in Morgantown. A lot of snow on the ground after a snowstorm earlier today. The Cowboys hoping to cool off the Mountaineers, who are coming off their first ever win in the Allen Fieldhouse over Kansas earlier this week, 62-61, without their second and third leading scorers. OSU head coach Steve Lutz and Darian DeVries, the head coach at West Virginia, know each other very well, having spent a lot of time together on the staff at Creighton. But tomorrow, it's all about business. Tip-off at 11 a.m. Central Time. In Morgantown with the Cowboys, I'm John Holcomb.
Thank you, sir. In football news, Sooners defensive back Kendall Dolby is coming back next season. Dolby, who suffered a season-ending injury against Tennessee, has 40 solo tackles to go with 5 passes defended, 3 sacks, and 2 interceptions the past 2 years. Meanwhile, on offense, Tulsa has added wide receiver Mekhi Miller out of the transfer portal. Miller racked up over 310 receiving yards to go with 1 touchdown in 3 seasons at Missouri. And it is official, Oklahoma State has added former TCU quarterback Haas Haney. Quite the name, quite the player. Top 12,
great name.
Top 12 quarterback from his class a couple years ago. So he can sling it. We'll see if he gets a starting job.
See how that works out. As Travis mentioned, stay 3 feet away from the Thunder.
Right, exactly.
They're hot like a space eater.
They are.
All right, so Tulsa firefighters saved the day for a dog.
We're going to show you the impressive rescue.
Galaxy Home.
A Tulsa dog named Muchacho got rescued from underneath a car by Tulsa firefighters. Muchacho got trapped after getting run over and briefly dragged. Well, firefighters carefully lifted the car and got him free.
Here he comes.
They say he only has a few minor scrapes and was pretty excited to meet the firefighters before the owner took him to the veterinarian for a full checkup.
Muchacho's pretty lucky, I'd say.
Very lucky.
Look at that.
Only a few scrapes.
Those eyes, man.
Thanks to the fire department.